Right now, if you're cold, you flip a switch. If you're hungry, you press a button on a microwave. But for most of human history, staying warm and eating cooked food meant controlling something no other animal on Earth has ever tamed: fire. And the strange part is, fire didn't just keep us warm. It rebuilt our skulls, shrank our jaws, and gave us the brain we're using to read this sentence right now. For millions of years, our ancestors lived like every other animal, eating raw food, sleeping when the sun went down, staying small because raw meat and plants simply don't carry enough energy to grow a big brain. Then, somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago, something changed. Someone learned to keep a flame alive. In 2012, researchers excavating one Diover cave in South Africa found burnt bone fragments and ash layers buried nearly a million years deep. The burn patterns weren't random, they were concentrated, controlled, the kind of evidence that shows up when a fire is tended, not when a wildfire just happens to sweep through. This is some of the oldest solid evidence we have of a hominin deliberately keeping fire alive inside a cave about 790,000 years ago. At a site in Israel called Gesh Ben Oti Yaakov Jasher Benot Yaakov, archaeologists found clusters of burnt flint and wood spread across different layers of the same location, generation after generation. That pattern matters, because it means this wasn't a one-time accident. Groups of early humans were returning to the same spot and rebuilding fire again and again, which means they'd figured out how to start it, or at least how to carry it and keep it going. Here's where it gets interesting. In 2009, primatologist Richard Wrangham published a theory that reframed the whole story. His argument: fire wasn't just for warmth or protection. Cooking food was the real breakthrough. Raw meat and raw plants take enormous amounts of energy to chew and digest. Cooking breaks down fibers and proteins before they ever reach your mouth, which means your body gets more calories from the same piece of food, using far less energy to get them. That extra energy had to go somewhere. And the human brain is expensive. It's about 2% of your body weight, but burns roughly 20% of your daily energy. Around the time controlled fire starts showing up in the archaeological record, brain size in our ancestors starts climbing, and it keeps climbing for the next million years. Nobody's claiming fire alone built the human brain, but an animal that just found a way to unlock more calories from the same food for less chewing effort suddenly has fuel to spare. And evolution spent that fuel on the most energy-hungry organ we have. The brain wasn't the only thing that changed. Look at a skull from Homo erectus erectus, and then compare it to earlier hominins. The jaw is smaller, the teeth are smaller, and the huge chewing muscles that used to anchor to a ridge on top of the skull start to shrink, until that ridge disappears completely. Raw, tough food needs a jaw built like a vice. Cooked food is already broken down before it hits your teeth, so a smaller jaw with weaker muscles was suddenly enough to survive on. Over generations, the skeleton followed the food, and it's not just the head. Cooking food outside the body means your digestive system doesn't have to break everything down internally. So the gut could shrink too, and a smaller gut is another organ that stops competing with the brain for energy. Fire changed the day itself. And through anthropologist Polly V's Anna Wiesner spent years recording conversations among the Zhuhoansi people of the Kalahari and found that daytime talk was mostly practical complaints, gossip, logistics. Nighttime, firelit talk was almost entirely stories, myths, plans, relationships. Fire didn't just cook dinner. It created the first version of prime time. Here's the full picture. Around 1 million years ago, or maybe earlier, someone kept a flame alive instead of running from it. That fire cooked food, which unlocked more energy for less effort. That extra energy fed a brain that kept growing for the next million years, while jaws and guts, no longer needed for the same brutal workload, quietly shrank. And every night, gathered around light in the darkness, our ancestors started doing something no other animal does: sitting still after dark, telling each other stories. You've probably never thought about your jaw as evidence of anything, But every time you flip a switch or press a button on a microwave, you're standing at the end of a chain that started with someone, somewhere, refusing to let a flame go out. They didn't know it would reshape their skull. They just knew it was warm, and it worked.